Yeah.
I want to go home now. Did it move? Yes.
Mom. I swear to God. Mom?
I see it. Is it by the tree?
Yeah.
Good evening. March 27th, 2017, Claudia Ackley and her two daughters went for an evening hike around 6:30 p.m. and it was in a back road, a pretty secluded area, not very well known to hikers, kind of a local area. And when she went for a hike, as you saw in those two short clips, she encountered something that she was not expecting. And in her opinion, she encountered a Sasquatch. This tree that you're looking at, here's a clip. Now, we're going to talk about the blurry footage and we're going to talk about some of the issues people might have with this case. But as you can see, she did film something. If you watch the short footage of it, you can see this object, this black creature up there moving. It's not like she filmed it and then went back and circled and highlighted things. No, this is what they were looking at, which is very important. If you guys are looking for a very sophisticated, very well done breakdown on this, I want you guys to go check out Bigfoot Tony. I have a link to his video below in the description. He does a very good breakdown of this. Unfortunately, the footage is blurry, but this was taken by her daughter, who was with him at the time, and that's what they could get. You got to remember, it was March, so about 6:30 at night. It was already getting dark. 2017, the cell phone she had could have been old even by 2017, so it could have been a 2014 or 2015 camera on that phone. The technology is getting better and better, but unfortunately, it is blurry. But fortunately, yes, she did manage to take some footage. Now, I met with Claudia. She took me to this road. She walked me through. Her partner is also Ed Brown. He's a fairly well-known Bigfoot researcher. And I found the area to be very intriguing. It's kind of at the edge of some houses, and there's kind of some forest around it. And it was very interesting when she encountered the creature. I guess when they walked up on it, two more were down below the one that was up in a tree, and they kind of ran off into the bushes. I guess her daughter saw that. And when she was very frightened, she got a very creeped out feeling. This thing scared her. And from talking to her and hearing her encounters, that fear really comes across. And the fact that she's scared to take people there. When we went down this road, I would go 10 feet off the trail and she'd be like, "Matt, what are you doing? Get back here." Like, she was genuinely afraid for the people that were there. This event really traumatized her. Whatever she saw, whatever she happened. And I do believe her. I do believe she did encounter something that day. If it's a hoax and she's acting, she's one hell of an actress. But I don't think she is. I think she's telling the truth. I think she really encountered something that day. And also interesting, is off of this encounter, she got very vocal about it. She opened up a court case. She was trying to sue the state of California to get Sasquatch recognized as a national species. And this is very cool. It's what a lot of us Bigfoot researchers want in the end, is we want recognition. We want everybody to say, look, we're not crazy. These things exist. So a very controversial figure that she hooked up with at the time was Todd Standing. Now, he's very polarizing in the Bigfoot world because of a couple reasons. One, because his photo evidence is not widely believed to be true. Some people have even gone as far as to say that he's a hoaxer and he sets this stuff up and he's only in it for the money. His supporters say that Todd Standing is brilliant and he's captured the real thing and done what nobody else has done. And other people don't have an opinion on his evidence. They just don't like his personality because he is a very type A, straightforward type personality. So having Todd Standing wrapped up in a court case, it went on for a while, and then they withdrew their case because they wanted to refile, because the wording that they'd used when they filed, they wanted to change it to give themselves a better chance. And I totally get that. It's Claudia's case. I commend her. Even if the case goes through or completely fails or doesn't happen, it still brings a certain legitimacy to this subject that people are trying. And if someone in California can do it, somebody in Washington State can do it. Somebody in Arkansas can do it. Somebody from Georgia can do it. Somebody from Maine can do it. And I do applaud that, even though I don't think Todd Standing was one of the best choices that she could have made to promote. It made sense in a lot of ways because he is a very well connected person. He does have a good amount of money. He's very well funded, and he does present some of his evidence. Believe it or not, people think I don't like Todd Standing, but I do like some of his evidence. It's just some of his evidence I don't like. So for a lot of people, the inclusion of Todd Standing is a red flag. For a lot of people, the fact that she's hooked up with Ed Brown as her partner, and he's a Bigfoot researcher. And another thing that someone else brought up to me is that in the short clip, she was whooping at the Bigfoot that was up in the tree. Now, if someone's genuinely afraid of this thing, why would they whoop at it? Well, Claudia, in her defense, had Bigfoot encounters before and was not a full-blown researcher as into it she was now, but she was very familiar with Sasquatch and had encounters. And, you know, we've all seen, if you're into this, we've all seen the television shows where you knock and you hoop and holler. And I think at a certain point, as brave as she was, she just wanted to see, is that a guy in a costume? Is that an animal? Is that a bear up in a tree? Is that an escaped monkey? Now, she did say it had kind of an orangutan look to it, like the hair was kind of a reddish, like an orangutan, orangish red, but on the video it came out black. So for a lot of people, those are two red flags, and I do understand where they're coming from. The involvement of Todd Standing, the fact that she was hooping and hollering and not backing away slowly, but you can hear in her daughter's voices that they were genuinely freaked out. And from interviewing Claudia and talking to her and spending time with her, she was genuinely freaked out. And like I said, I do 100% believe her. Also, if you've met Claudia and you've interacted with her and you've seen how she does things, she is not in this for the money. She hasn't sold her story. She's lost a lot of money filing lawsuits and talking to lawyers because they're expensive. As far as I know, she's never done any paid interviews. She's not making any money. I think maybe she had a GoFundMe just for legal bills, but she's not out there to write books or to make money or to sell images. She just wants to get this point across. And if you meet her in person, this passion really comes through. And I do appreciate that. By the way, what you're looking at was very recent, just a few days ago. I went back to the road. I took my buddy Brian with me. I was well armed this time. This would be the third time I've been on the road. The first time was Claudia took me with me and walked me through the sequence of events. The second time I went there by myself, got super freaked out, got this irrational feeling of dread. I don't know where it came from. I had a headache for 2 or 3 days. I felt very uneasy the whole week. It was just this headache, like this tension headache on the side of my head. I don't know where it came from. Some people have suggested that maybe I got zapped or it was Bigfoot using infrasound. It was a bizarre day. But the footage you're witnessing now, I didn't feel anything. It seemed like any other hiking trail, any other part in the woods. It was quiet. Not a lot going on. We saw a couple birds, a couple squirrels, a couple lizards. Didn't find any big tree structures. I will admit there's a lot of footpath tracks. You could see a lot of hiking boot tracks, and you can see a lot of bike paths. And we did encounter other people going for a walk on this trail. And when we were there the first time in the walkthrough, a family went through with kids. So if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you find rock stacks, that may be a potential sign of Bigfoot. But with the kids and people going through, as somebody who has a young daughter, I could tell you that stacking rocks or something maybe out of the ordinary, you could kind of chalk that up to kids. It makes it, not that it isn't Sasquatch, but not that it is, and it makes the likelihood of it being Bigfoot, especially right on the trail, a little bit less in my opinion. And this whole case, I've been continuing to follow it. I'm glad to call Claudia a friend, and I hope she understands because she's going to be watching this. Claudia, I went up there twice without contacting you for the sake of investigation. I believe you, and I know you wouldn't hoax me, but for the sake of being a paranormal investigator, of looking into these events, I have to see if I can individually corroborate, go to these spots. One time I got creeped out, one time I didn't. Both times I went, I did find some kind of strange things, some stuff stuck in logs, some weird stacks, like I said, that I can't chalk up to Bigfoot or either or. But I think it's important that I go there without the person reporting it knowing I'm going there, so they can't hoax me or pull the wool over my eyes or do something strange or steer me in a certain direction or influence me in any way. So that's why, for the sake of investigation purposes, I went back. And by the way, there will be a follow-up to this next time it rains. In the next few months here, approaching winter, hopefully we'll get a California storm. And I really want to go back and look for tracks, look for prints, especially, after it rains, the forest kind of comes alive a little bit, and can't wait to do that. So something else that I think is very important to bring up is Claudia introduced me to a couple that lived not too far away from this, just a stone's throw, in a very well-to-do neighborhood in the Arrowhead area. And they had these things come onto their property, look in their pond, look in their windows, peed on the side of their house, and the neighbors in front of them and back of them, to the sides of them, they were all talking to each other. And the whole little community was talking about these very strange, quote-unquote, bears that were 7 or 8 feet tall, that would walk on their hind legs and run across the road on their hind legs, and they didn't have a snout. Now, I think it's always fascinating sometimes, especially with Bigfoot being in our lexicon and Sasquatch pop culture these days, that people go really far out of their way to explain things aren't Bigfoot. So I find that really fascinating that even to very recently, this area still is pretty active. And if you look at the whole Lake Arrowhead, Big Bear, Crestline, mountain range, if you look at that whole area, there's quite a bit of Bigfoot activity. And I've been up there quite a few times. I've talked to people. And if you look at the mountain range next door, the San Jacinto mountain range, there's also things over there in the Idlewild area that I've documented. So what you're looking at right now is the actual scene of Claudia Ackley's encounter. Now, look at this weird piece of wood stuck in this log. We were like, what is that? Is it like balanced there? Wedged in there? It was very strange. Now, I'm not one of those people where everything's Bigfoot, but it did seem like a very odd way to kind of mark this game trail going down here. That's very clearly a trail. And you can see over here, we're going to get close to it in a second. You can see the tree where Claudia filmed this thing, and you can tell that this is a big tree. That Y is way up there. And if you were going to hoax it, you'd have to have an extension ladder. You'd have to be able to put this ladder, the backside of the tree, have a guy climb up there, sit up there. He has no way out, nowhere to go. Then someone else would have to go push that ladder down and hide it somewhere. Then for the other people running away, you'd have to get them in some kind of a suit to run away to hoax Claudia. If Claudia was hoaxing, which I obviously don't think she is, then you would, she'd have to get her 11 and 14-year-old kids in on the deal. She would have to haul a ladder way down this hiking trail that you can't get a truck down. She'd have to get, orangish monkey suits. She would have to film it, and she would have to get all her kids, including herself, to act like this was an incredibly scary situation. So, not impossible, but I think she saw something real that day. And like I said, here's the tree. Now, when we went for the hike this day, like I said, in general, I didn't feel freaked out like I did when I went down there by myself a few weeks prior. This one area is a tiny bit creepy. This is probably, today, this was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, this was like a 3 or a 4. Just a little bit odd. And this was kind of the only area that I got a little bit of a feeling of being watched, not by much, or a feeling of I shouldn't poke around too much, I shouldn't turn too much stuff over, I shouldn't really mess around in this area. It was kind of the feeling I got, but not overly creepy or fear or anything like that. So that's pretty much the spot that it happened. This was the 3rd time that I had been there. So in conclusion, I believe Claudia Ackley. I think her and her kids saw something incredible that day. Meeting with Ed Brown and his interpretations of it, I think he's spot on. I 100% believe him. I don't think there's any kind of hoaxing going on here. I think it's a very compelling case. And I think the fact that people in the area have also seen these creatures, and this whole general mountain range has had a history of Sasquatch encounters. I think that's what she encountered. And I think she's a brave lady for everything she's done. If you guys liked this video, it really helps if you give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps this channel out immensely. And this is kind of the first of a series of investigation style videos that we're going to be doing. Thank you very much, and stay safe in the woods.